is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever. I get knocked down, but I get up again. Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast Vue. I have Michael Sunderman, who's the president and publisher of M2 Media. You know South Mississippi Living. You probably know Jackpot Magazine. I have a long history here in coastal Mississippi, and Mike's been incredibly committed to the community, giving volunteerism in so many different ways. But, you know, Michael, it's always interesting to me. Some of the best conversations I have, Cal can attest to this, happen when we're off the air, as we just talk and catch up with each other. But I've had the benefit of doing that with so many people over the last 2 years. And one of the things that you asked me about is that, you know, do I consider what I'm doing as retirement, you know, because I'm doing this show every day and now I have SuperTalk Outdoors. And I still feel very retired, to be honest with you. What I find in this role is an opportunity to connect. I forgot how much I enjoy connecting. And the other thing is, after being a publisher for so long and being so engaged in the community, I forgot what I knew about that. So this opportunity that I've had to reconnect and to figure out where do I want to focus, like on the tourism issue recently. I think that was long from over, but for now it's subsided for the time being. I felt like that was an area where I could focus some of my attention on. And there'll be other issues like that as well. But I've really enjoyed, you know, having the deeper conversations, something I never really had time to do when I was publisher. You know that from your role at Morris.
Yep, absolutely. And then you don't have to worry about what the headline is going to be tomorrow either. So. And we talked off air, you know, you have a huge network of people and leaders that you've worked with over the last, 30 years. So you've been on the coast, so more now. Yeah. And that's a huge resource. And that's what's making your show so popular. And the diversity of your guests is also impressive. There's all kinds of spectrums, from health to gaming to business to charities, you name it. You put them on the show.
Well, I appreciate that. I've worked hard to do that because it takes a community to make this coastal Mississippi tick, and it takes diversity of thought, of race, of you name it. When we all come together, this melting pot of incredible contributions makes this a very special place. And you know what's interesting, and you hear this, you're not from here, but you might as well say you're from here now.
Yeah.
Your flag is planted, and you love this place, and you saw this as someone who came from another place. You saw this in who we are. But the thing that's so special about this place, once you take the political division and set it aside for a second and just look at what's in the heart and soul of coastal Mississippians, or Mississippians for that matter, and it is this we care about each other. You know, we really do. We care about our neighbors. That's one of the reasons why we're so darn resilient. I mean, that's one of our keys. That's what people are drawn to. I had someone I interviewed on my SuperTalk outdoor show recently, and he's duck hunted in 6 continents, and he shares all these stories about that experience. And no matter where he goes, people are drawn to him because he's from Mississippi and he cares so much about them. And I mean, it's a special place in that way, isn't it?
It is, and this is our forever home. We'll never leave. We've lived and worked all over the country, but this is a place like you said, we planted our flag, and this is where our kids wanted to come back to. By the way, when we're in Savannah, our kids wanted to come back home, and this was home for them. So, you know, we made that happen after a couple of years. So, I'm glad to be here, and we love working with all these local businesses, small businesses, and we love our relationship with the casino industry. And you mentioned earlier, there's a strong possibility that they could crack $3 billion with a B dollars in gaming revenue. That's just gaming revenue. That doesn't include non-gaming revenue. That doesn't include restaurants, hotels, you know, you name it. And that would shatter the mark that we set in 2007, which is like 2.7 or like 2.8 billion. And that's when casinos were opening left and right, and just, you know, growth was going crazy. So this is really impressive. I've talked to a couple of the casino people, and, you know, they're not concerned, but their only reservation is, when you talk about budget, when their bosses say, now listen, you're going to budget for that kind of revenue next year, right? They said, whoa, 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 whoa. I think this has been a 1-year phenomenal gift. But as the economy comes back and people start going back to work, and we think that we're going to see it, drop a bit. It won't be where it's at right now. It'll still be a great year, but we think they think it'll drop down a little bit there. So we'll see.
One of the things, and you're right, it may drop down, but we've introduced ourselves to others. And one of the I think the brilliant moves we made early in the pandemic was focusing on the drive-in market, knowing that over 80% of the people who came here by car. But what I was going to say is that if you just kind of go around coastal Mississippi and look at John at Silver Slipper and Travis at the Beau Rivage and Jonathan at Harris and Luann at Scarlet and Lindsay at the Island View. I mean, I could name them all. We have a crop of incredible leaders in coastal Mississippi right now, don't we?
Really do. And I've always said that, working with the gaming industry in Nevada and now here, it's probably the most dynamic leaders I've ever come in contact with. They just understand customer service. They understand what a customer wants, and they understand how to deliver that. And I think what they've really learned over the COVID years is what's the most important elements of that customer visit. Is it the buffet? Apparently it's not, because record revenues and the buffets are closed. Was it valet? No, because valets are closed. So they found a way to get around as much personal contact with new guests, keep them safe, which is understandable, but they found ways to change their plan and change the way they greet their customers and take care of their customers, and it's worked out. I mean, it's worked out, and I don't think you're going to see a lot of buffets come back, and valet might not come back, but they have found other ways to keep people here, including sports betting, which is having a record year as well. That's really helped tip the revenues as well.
Well, I've had through this show and just in general working in the community, I've had the opportunity to get in touch with the key leaders at each of the casinos, and they were the right group at the right time. While you had these fly-in places like Vegas and Atlantic City and these other places, and by the way, we should point out that in the midst of all of this, we still had proliferation of casino gaming across the United States that was continuing to play out. But they were able, as you pointed out, adapt, be innovative. I mean, the amount of innovation that happened here in coastal Mississippi in the gaming industry after the pandemic became what it was what literally affected casinos all around the world. People were watching what was happening in Mississippi from every corner of the universe because they wanted to learn what it is we were doing. It made a huge difference, didn't it?
Yeah, and they adapted what Mississippi procedures were developed all over the place. And you mentioned, driving traffic. During the peak of COVID, there was so much pent-up demand, people stuck in their homes or working from home, and airports were almost non-existent. So they said, there's a safe way to go have fun. It's get in your own car, with your family, drive down to a place, and with a lot of safety protocols already in place, enjoy your weekend or week there, and then go home in your car. And that's what's really driven the gaming revenue as well. And I think that we've exposed so many more people to the Mississippi casino environment that they went home and told all their friends that they had a great time, and that, as you said, these are some of the nicest people on earth, and they treat you like your family down there. And we might have left a few dollars in the slot machines, but we had a blast anyway. So I think that's just going to keep on growing the market. And it's kind of like that web goes out, and they just keep telling more and more people, and they share them on Facebook, and they share all their trips with them. And people are ringing the phones, like coastal Mississippi. They're getting a lot of phone calls. People wanting to plan trips down here. So that's another good sign that 2022 looks pretty good.
Yeah, it is. And that's what I'm hearing as well. Let's hope that Omicron, as Dr. Conger said in the last segment, is maybe it's more contagious, but the cases are not as severe. So the reaction economically is not going to be as great as obviously what we had to experience with the initial wave of COVID and then Delta. You give your time for a wide range of organizations, both inside your magazine and you personally with things like the Baco McCarty Foundation, the Mississippi Aquarium. As it relates to the Mississippi Aquarium, it had to open up in the midst of a major pandemic and hurricane threats and all the things that come with that. I'm hearing really good things about 2021. What's the latest on how things are going there?
The latest is we shattered all visitation expectations, and we had low expectations, but we still beat them by 30-40%. And so that visitation resulted in record revenues, and our projections were to either break even or lose a little money, and we're making millions down there. So that's a good sign. And as a board, we've decided to improve it. So we're getting some more money from the city and some other places, and we're going to expand our displays, bring in more reefs and such. We've got some money from the state for a penguin exhibit. So you're going to see it more and more. We want to extend the stay, so to speak.
Well, keep up the great work. The board has been incredibly active, and the team there at the aquarium these days is terrific. I love visiting with them on Coast Vue. They're all super motivated, passionate about what they do. And it's always, as always, the Mississippi Aquarium has this role in our tourism economy, and we want it to be incredibly successful. This has been Michael Sunderman, the president publisher of M2 Media. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, friend.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast Vue on your laptop, desktop, or on your phone or tablet by going to SuperTalkMSGulfCoast.com.
When it comes to the outdoors, we are one. We live in one of the best places in America to enjoy the great outdoors. So let's talk about it. Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Mathews. Mondays starting at noon. Here on Super Talk Mississippi. Presented by the Foundation Protecting Our Outdoors Heritage. Listen or watch the show anywhere you get Super Talk Mississippi.
Guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever. Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on Super Talk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Merry Christmas, South Mississippi. It is Toyotathon time here at J. Allen Toyota, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport. You see this halo right up here? It says the tradition continues. Y'all, this is our 12th Christmas in this facility here on I-10 in Gulfport, and we couldn't be more thrilled. So I want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of South Mississippi and remind you that Toyotathon is a great time to buy. We've got more inventory than we've had almost all year long, and we've got a lot coming. So come check us out. Merry Christmas, y'all.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard-to-find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent. And your health, our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter. Has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because, I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard. And,
Wow.
All this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show. Every day, we're driving the debate in America with the fastest moving, hardest hitting, most comprehensive fact-based commentary on the radio. We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth. Our show is a meeting place of ideas. We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Weeknights at 9
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show
on Super Talk Mississippi. Super Talk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on Super Talk Mississippi.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever. Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
And now, it's Coast View with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on Super Talk 103.1 FM.
Welcome back to Coast View. It's Friday, so Friday's the day where we have I like to say Jeff Duncan Day. Usually we have him in the first half of the day. We didn't have him at the first half today. We'll have him in the next 2 segments. But Jeff is it works with NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. He's covered the Saints longer than anyone else. He's on the Hall of Fame selection committee. He's written numerous books, and we just enjoy visiting with him from week to week about what's the latest with the Saints and the latest with Jeff, for that matter. How you doing, Jeff?
Ricky, I'm doing great. Kind of a little bit of a break from the grind with that Thursday game, back-to-back Thursday game. So we had a little bit, almost like a mini bye week. So I feel refreshed and ready for the season, late season run.
Yeah. So let's have a run. Let's have a run. Let's break the streak. So, hey, let's jump right in, man. I mean, Taysom Hill's finger. What's your read on the situation?
Well, he's going to play with it. He's going to play with that splint on his middle finger. I mean, I think it's problematic a little bit with his, passing. We saw it in the Thursday night game. He had some accuracy issues, but I just get the feeling that he's their best option. He made so many plays with his legs, ran for over 100 yards for the first time in his career. And I don't think they're going to be passing a lot against the Jets, Ricky. I think this game plan is going to be not quite as bad as what we saw the Patriots the other night, but I think they're going to be heavily ground-oriented, and I think they want to take advantage of his running ability, even though that finger is obviously a concern.
Yeah, it was interesting. And, man, the Saints cannot get a break. That's at the end of the day, that's what we're dealing with here. But he came out blowing and going, man. He came out, I mean, his passes, at least initially, were very accurate. And, he throws a bullet. It's incredible, that part. His running was inspired. And then he hurts his finger. And then the whole game kind of changed after that. But there's no way to not say. You can probably, and you probably have analyzed it from a decision-making point of view versus what was just a pure accuracy issue, but there was no arguing the fact that his finger affected him once he injured it.
Yeah, and I think he was guilty of pressing late. It reminded me of some of the games that Jameis Winston played with the Bucs, where he didn't have a very good team. He was trying to play from behind and maybe trying a little too hard to make some plays down the stretch. And, that happens when you're playing catch up. So the Saints just need to get a lead in a game, Ricky. I mean, this is 3 losses in a row where they've never had a lead ever. And in this 5-game losing streak, I pointed out the other day, they've led for a grand total of 5 minutes in 5 total games. I mean, they're always playing from behind, and I think that leads to some of these mistakes.
Well, how do you do it without playmakers?
Well, they're going to get one back. They're getting Alvin Kamara back this week. So, I mean, that's a big, big return. He's easily their best offensive playmaker, maybe their best overall player. And, he's missed 4 games. That's the most he's ever missed in his career. So he should be healthy. And the Jets have the worst defense in the league statistically, one of the worst run defenses in the league. So I expect we're going to see a lot of Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara.
And Mark Ingram.
That I don't think. It sounds like he may be caught up in the COVID protocols this week, unfortunately.
Oh my goodness! So, are they falling like flies, or we?
No, it's just as far as I know, just him and Cam Jordan. Now this is the state of the Saints, Ricky. You get back Alvin Kamara, you lose Mark Ingram. You get back Marcus Davenport, which looks like that's going to happen this week. And you lose Cam Jordan. That's just kind of the way it's been this year.
Unbelievable. So they've made some tweaks to their roster this week. Tell me about that.
Well, they released Kenny Stills, and that's no surprise. He really didn't make much of an impact here. And I told somebody in the press conference after the game Thursday when Sean Payton mentioned that play that he did not make that catch right before halftime and led to that kind of deflection interception. When Sean Payton does that, historically, your days are numbered. And I just feel like Sean had enough. Kenny Stills has been targeted 22 times and only caught 5 of those 22 targets. And I just think he was probably trying to send a message to the rest of the team. He's not going to accept lack of execution. I know he actually wanted to make some other changes, I heard. But I think they're going with the status quo. So he said this week, Sean, that he was not happy with the tackling against Dallas and was definitely not happy with the effort, I think more defensively than anything else against Dallas. So I expect a wake-up call for some of these guys on the Saints, and I expect them to play much better and harder against the Jets.
Well, you said that a couple of times now. I look back as recent as maybe the last 2 or 3 shows where there's been an issue. We needed the defense to play. We were going to win the game. We've always said this from the very beginning. We're going to our whole season depends on how well the defense plays. But when there's some question about whether their hearts are in that game or not, whether they're playing with the kind of passion they played at the beginning of the season, they haven't been able to fix that. So what do you think? What do you think's going on there?
Well, I mean, it's natural. I think you're losing, your offense is struggling, and you have a little bit of a letdown. And it's not just one player. I think the thing that Sean was saying that I think was eye-opening is a little bit is might be just one player on one play, and then the next play might be another player, and they're not maybe pursuing the ball. They're not giving that extra effort you have to give. And it's hard to play defense in the NFL if not all 11 guys are not running to the ball. That's what ends up happening when you end up with a big play. One person doesn't give effort, and it's all it takes. So I think he's lit a charge under this team this week. And I think that long break, look, he gave them basically from Thursday's game all the way off to Monday, basically 4 days off to get, kind of get recharged, get their legs under them. So I expect the Saints to play very well on Sunday. I'll be shocked if they don't at least give great effort.
So other than Taysom's finger, how did he hold up? Because he was going in with the foot injury. He was going in, obviously still getting over his concussion. Every time he runs, you hold your breath because he's so fast and such a hard runner. It's just scary watching him run because you wonder if he's going to get up or not. But what's your assessment, and what's the assessment of the team on how he's doing other than the finger?
Well, I think a lot of good and bad. I mean, the good is, you accounted for 365 yards of offense, ran for over 100 yards, threw for 264 yards. And I think more importantly, a lot of big plays. They had 7 plays of 23 or more yards. So that's what's been missing from this offense, are those chunk plays and explosive plays. So those came back both on the ground and through the air. They were able to get some big plays. And that's what Sean Payton likes about having Taysom Hill at quarterback, is it forces defenses to play the safety up. One of the 2 safeties has to play up to account for the run, and that leaves you vulnerable on the back end. And we saw that happen in the game. The downside were the turnovers. He had 4 interceptions. I mean, you can't win with 4 interceptions. Now, 3 of them came late when I think they were playing catch-up. A couple of bad throws that he'd probably like to have back. I think the one before halftime was not a bad throw. It was just a deflected ball. That happens. But he also was inaccurate on some plays, too, that were just incompletions that should have been completed. And I think some of that goes back to his hand, and some of it maybe just rust from not playing that much. So Sean Payton endorsed him this week. He's behind him. So I don't think we're going to see any change at quarterback.
I predict he's going to have a good week. I just – because you saw moments of really significant talent. I mean, he seemed to be reading defenses pretty good in that game. Again, some misses and deflections and whatever else, maybe or maybe not related to his finger. But you felt like the offense was behind him. That they felt like they could move the ball. Is that a general consensus of people who've been watching it?
Oh, yeah. I don't think there's any doubt. You see the ability. I mean, he's big and fast. He's fast by NFL standards. So you can see the physical talent. There's a physicality to his game. I really think it's important for the Saints to get back one of their tackles, either Teron Armstead or Ryan Ramczyk, quickly, because those guys also kind of are a force physically up front. And without them, the Saints really had to kind of jerry-rig their game plan. I mean, they did a lot of rollouts with Taysom to kind of protect the tackles, and they just had to kind of make do with the backup tackles. So I think that was also a big factor in that game. And if they get one of them back, and then you can start Ramczyk or Armstead with James Hurst, who I think is a very solid, credible player, then you're back in the game with that offensive line.
So what's the latest on their injuries?
Well, we don't know. I mean, their practice status has been up in the air for the last 2 weeks. I would think this long break that they had will help them in that regard. I know Teron Armstead was close to coming back last week, so I would think one of them will be back for sure. If they get both of them back, I think it'll be a big boost. I mean, Ricky, they're in this thing. I mean, 9-8 is probably going to make the playoffs, and the Saints play only one team with a winning record in their last 5 games. If they could win 4 of those games, they could finish 9-8, and you just don't know how it's going to play out. So I think Sean Payton's trying to say, hey, let's take this break, get recharged, and let's try and make a run at this thing and see what happens.
So the Saints have to deal with another suspension. We'll talk more about that when we get on the other side. See you after this break.
You can also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever. Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Merry Christmas, South Mississippi. It is Toyotathon time here at J. Allen Toyota, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport. You see this halo right up here? It says the tradition continues. Y'all, this is our 12th Christmas in this facility here on I-10 in Gulfport, and we couldn't be more thrilled. So I want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of South Mississippi and remind you that Toyotathon is a great time to buy. We've got more inventory than we've had almost all year long, and we've got a lot coming. So come check us out. Merry Christmas, y'all.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends.
We're talking to Dale Berra. Take me back to growing up and what it was like in the household with a dad like Yogi Berra.
You know, we grew up with his funny sayings. You know, I remember Dad managing the Mets, and me, Larry, and Timmy are watching the game on TV. And all of a sudden, two streakers run out of the stands on TV, and the camera flips away from them. So when he gets home, me, Larry, and Timmy say, "Hey, Dad, those streakers, what were they, boys or girls? We need to know." And Dad looked us right in the eye and said, "I couldn't tell. They had bags over their heads."
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever. Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
When it comes to the outdoors, we are one. We live in one of the best places in America to enjoy the great outdoors. So let's talk about it. Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Mathews. Mondays starting at noon. Here on Super Talk Mississippi. Presented by the Foundation Protecting Our Outdoors Heritage. Listen or watch the show anywhere you get Super Talk Mississippi. Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on Super Talk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. It's Jeff Duncan Day from NOLA.com of the Times-Picayune, and we're talking about the Saints. Jeff, one of the things, I told you this, you know this about me. We've talked about it a lot over the last couple of years, but when the Saints are winning, I can't read enough about them. When they're losing, I don't want to have much to do with them. You know what I mean? But what I've noticed, though,
you're not alone, Ricky. That's the way everybody is, I think.
I know, but tell you what's different, though. This is a little different. Because of we've been decimated by all these injuries and all this moving around with players and whatever, I've actually found myself wanting to read more. And I think your team has done such a great job of covering the Saints in all these angles. Because there are all these transactions that are taking now a new suspension that we knew was coming, incidentally. No big surprise there. But all these things are moving. I've been wanting to keep up with it on a day-to-day basis because it's constantly changing. So it's less about a team that's losing and more about a team that has a lot of challenges and really on a day-to-day basis wanting to keep up with how they're overcoming these challenges. And your team, man, you got to feel like thrilled to have the people around you on the NOLA.com Times-Picayune team. They're doing a great job, aren't they? Yeah, they're working around the clock. I mean, with every one of these coming and going transactions like you're talking about requires a story, and it seems like it's never ending with this team. We've had so many either injuries, suspensions, whatever, signings. I agree with you. It's been a crazy year, and keeping up with it. And you know what else is interesting, Ricky? I was out last night in New Orleans at a restaurant and talked to a couple of people there that I get the sentiment. Both of them said, we don't want to win any more games. We want the team to lose
And I've never seen that before with the fan base, but it's a very common sentiment. People want a high draft pick. They feel like this year is just a lost season because of the injuries, because of all the things we're talking about. They're ready to just say, let's move on. Let's get a high draft pick, get maybe a quarterback or something, and move on. I've never seen that before with this fan base, but it's not that simple. You know, the fans have one mission, right? I mean, they have time on their side. Guys like Cam Jordan and Malcolm Jenkins and DeMario Davis, I mean, they're in their 30s. This might be one of their last chances to make a run. So they're not on the same timeline. They want to win, you know. So don't expect the Saints to tank at all. Is what I'm getting at.
Well, you know what's interesting, because if I'm honest, you know, if I'm just honest about it, I want them to win, but then I wonder what winning if they don't win, as you pointed out, 4 of the last 5 games, they don't have a chance. So if they win 2 or 3, then how's that going to impact us? I have often thought, what is the draft pick scenario? But you know, speaking of quarterback, we could have the quarterback of future already on our roster, couldn't we?
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, between Ian Book, Taysom Hill, and I'll be interested to see how they handle Jameis Winston in the offseason. They didn't get a real long look at him, unfortunately, because of the injury. But I know they very much like him. So I don't know what's going to happen at quarterback. I think all options will be considered, internal, external, trades. I mean, this team is going to be aggressive, I think, this offseason in trying to address the quarterback position. I look at it, I think we've talked about this before. It reminds me a lot of the Patriots last year. They had that down year. They had to get their salary cap in order. They went with Cam Newton as kind of a Band-Aid fill-in transition guy. And they went 7-9, missed the playoffs, and then they get Mac Jones in the draft. And look at them. They're the number 1 seed in the AFC this year, right back in the mix.
Yeah, y'all did a good job of covering this reality, which I did not understand about Peyton. But people want Ian Book to come in, but he's never started a rookie.
Yeah, no. I mean, the Saints have only started 3 rookies in their entire franchise tenure, and the last one at quarterback was Danny Werfel in 1997. And he went 0-2. It's hard to win in this league. And I think we're in this microwave society now, Ricky, where everybody wants everything right now. No one wants to wait. And I think the Saints are wise to kind of let him figure it out. And we're not down on him just because we're not playing him doesn't mean we're down on him. We just don't feel like the need to, pressure him into playing right now. And they're still very high on Ian Book. And but like I pointed out in my column, Tony Romo came from Eastern Illinois to the Cowboys, and he didn't play for 3 years.
Right.
And he turned out to be a Pro Bowler, a multi-time Pro Bowler. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not well thought of just because you're not playing.
Is there a scuttlebutt on Ian Book just from watching him in practice, et cetera?
Well, I think the thing about Ian Book, I've compared him often to Jake Delhomme. When I covered Jake Delhomme with the Saints, he was kind of that same kind of player. He doesn't necessarily wow you with his physical talent. He doesn't, he's not going to stand out at a combine running or throwing, but he's just kind of a gamer. He's a winner. And Jake Delhomme ended up going to Carolina. He took them to the Super Bowl. He made the Pro Bowl there. And when he was in New Orleans, he couldn't beat out Aaron Brooks because he's just not a great practice player. I've talked to many players like that. He didn't blow you away in practice, so he could beat out Aaron Brooks. He goes somewhere else and has a really successful career. But because he's a winner and players kind of rally around him, he's got that intangible quality. And that's what you hear about Ian Book. He's got intangibles that you just can't coach.
I just
think he's going to end up being a big-time player down the road for him.
We're out of time, but the suspension that we saw coming was Deontay Harris being out for 3 games. And so once again, we'll have to watch to see what happens with the wide receivers. But you look for them to win against the Jets. It's going to be much a running game. Hopefully they do win. And it's been a pleasure to visit with you, my friend.
All right, Ricky, thanks again. And we'll talk again next week, buddy.
Have a great day. And we'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.